Welcome, everyone, to our Tuesday live coffee chat with Jack Spirko. We moved a little earlier today. Jack, will you tell us why in the world we're live at 9 in the morning and not 12:30? I think it's a pretty important reason.
Because I had to juggle some scheduling around, and I've started this new initiative that's a production of the survival podcast called Bitcoin Breakout. And I booked Guy Swan. And so I have him today. He's the founder of Bitcoin Audible. He's been in the space since like 2011. Really huge name there. And I booked, well, Dorothy booked him for noon because I said to. And then she said, hey, that's Tuesday. Do you want me to change it? And I went, no. Nicole and John will be much more understanding. So that's a pretty big win out of the gate with a new initiative. And then I've got on Thursday, I've got Natalie Brunell, who's a equally big, huge name in the Bitcoin space. So I've got a busy week, and it's going to be all interviews. I got that. And then Wednesday, I've got an interview on financial independence. So it's going to be an interview show week on a show.
All about money this week.
It is all about money.
Money.
You prefer interview? Do you think is that easier, or is that a more fun show?
I think I get a better show out of interviews. I think it's easier to do a standalone. Okay. Right? Because if you've never had like these guests, like all three of them, like I know who I'm getting. Sometimes you take a chance on somebody and then you're like, oh boy. Oh boy.
I'll be editing that.
You're like, I could have done that subject better alone. But I think 99% of the time I get great guests, and then it's great. But it's more work. There's logistics. Like, what time do I start my standalone show? When I'm ready. Like, you have to schedule a guest. So it's all, I don't know.
Yeah, it just depends. I can usually tell by the questions they've put in if it's going to go well.
That's why we do that.
Them. Because, like, you get the half-assed questions where they don't actually have a shape to them, and they clearly just wrote the questions pissed off at you for asking them to ask questions.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, I could tell you're pissed off about it, but, like, literally I am giving you the ability to make the best interview, get you the best mileage you've ever gotten in your life by saying, give me 6 or 8 questions, because it guides me where you want to go. Like, yeah. What better power rather than random? I hit you with questions out of the chute.
Yeah. Well, it also is like, okay, if I don't know you, it's your pitch, right? And I don't know if you've noticed this, but what I've noticed is the bigger the name, the more they don't want to do the questions.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, do you have something to sell? Yes. Would you like a good brand experience on my show? Yes. And I would like to know what the fuck you want to talk about. And the whole reason I came up with that form that you use too now is years and years ago, I had Ron Hood on the show. He was like a brother. I mean, we were that close. We talked every day. And like 5 minutes into the show, I could tell like what I thought we were going to talk about was not what he thought we were going to talk about. And we worked it out. But I'm like, if somebody I know that well, I can have that experience with, then it could happen with anybody. So that's why I instituted the form. And if you want to get on the show, fill out the form. Just saying, like, yeah. Ron Paul had to fill out the form. All right. John McAfee was going to be on and he wouldn't fill out the form.
Therefore, he did not get on.
And unfortunately, he's gone now. So he had his chance.
That's probably what happened to him.
He didn't kill himself, though.
He did not kill himself. No. He died of failure to fill out the form.
Yep.
I have a crazy John McAfee story that I'll give you sometime.
Okay. You don't want to tell it now?
No.
Okay.
No. All right.
It's one of those stories. John, what's the latest news from Panic Prepper 1?
I haven't even watched our last Panic Prepper 1. I couldn't even tell you. We were filming on Friday, and I'm like, I'm not feeling this. I don't think I'm doing Panic Prepper 1 anymore. So yeah. I don't think I'm doing social media. I haven't done any social media stuff really in 2 weeks, and I can't say that I've missed it.
Has it missed you though?
I wouldn't know, because I feel like I'm being a pussy over it. I'm kind of butthurt about it, and I don't feel that I'm getting anything in return for it. When I turn the camera on, there's tons of people there, but they're not leaving comments, or at least not that I can see. And I can do a lot of shit with 2 hours out of my day. So I don't know. I have about $6,000 every week into social media, and I don't see any return for it, none whatsoever.
How do you calculate that number? Just the value of your time and then your time invested? Is that where you're getting that number? Or are you actually spending money to pay people to help you do it?
That's I'm paying people.
Oh no, fuck that.
Yeah, and
that's the real cost.
And it's also the few hours out of each day with the camera and the few hours with people around and the few hours, where I'm not actually generating money. I can do SOE stuff in 2 hours and, see $10,000 immediately come from that. I do not see anything coming from video stuff.
Interesting. So what you're saying is we shouldn't just put $6,000 into video production if we're getting nothing from it.
Well, I mean, we were. I don't know where it went, and I don't know how to maneuver around it.
Yeah. Are you getting shadow banned, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, people say that all the time, but fuck yes, we're shadow banned. I mean,
yeah,
it's absolutely insane. People can't even comment on videos.
People watching the video live, not in the chat, or are you saying comment below, like?
Yeah, they can't.
Or both.
They physically don't have a bar to where
it just goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a friend of mine just launched a tech magazine that is focused on tech policy, focused on what's happening with a liberal-dominated tech platforms, with the goal to expose shadow banning, people getting censored, and to highlight new companies that are coming up with alternatives that are more free speech oriented. She's maybe looking for people to interview who have experienced negative outcomes of having the wrong opinion. So I should link you up. It's Sue. Actually, Sue Zoldak from my event.
Cool.
Yeah. She just announced that yesterday. So hopefully she'll do well with it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yep. And yes, everybody give John some comment love. Like right now on this live, there are 95 people. There's no reason. And some of those, I mean, it's across 3 channels, but
yeah,
everybody put a comment in, talk to each other, that sort of thing. Yeah. Tactical says the only weirdness like that I've seen was on John's channel. Yeah. I got unfollowed. Like I subscribed to him and I got unsubscribed.
There's people that have had that happen a dozen times.
Yeah. I've had that too. I had a listener send me a screen capture video, subscribe, turn on notifications, refresh, pull my channel back up. You are not subscribed to this channel.
Yeah.
It seems like it's gotten better lately. I don't know why for me, but I think it kind of runs in cycles. Whatever they're pissed off about at the moment. I'm actually surprised that I'm still here. Not because I would voluntarily leave, because I've been to the 2 strikes limit like 3 times in 5 years.
I'm surprised we're all still here, Jack.
Yeah.
I'm surprised John is still here. He got that week ban. You got a week ban.
Oh, I've had week bans. I've had 2-week bans. I've had many bans.
It is what it is.
It makes me wonder if we're going to see, like, maybe it's going to be worth starting to use these alternate channels a little bit more, and maybe new alternate channels. Like we've talked about alternative social media like MeWe and whatever. And I don't know, it only seems to be going so well, but I've been like playing with Fountain, which is dedicated obviously to podcasts and Bitcoin Lightning this week. But I can see that turning into a full-fledged way for people to communicate with each other with zero censorship, because it's a closed system that can't really be manipulated. And it's literally being funded by the people who put the content into it. So the content creator is the product, right? Or is the customer, I should say, versus like here on YouTube, we're the freaking, we're the freaking product. So we're being sold, right? And all the people, all their data is the product. Where like inside that app, it's all value for value exchange. I don't know. It's been pretty cool. I don't know if you've tried yet. I put the breakout in its own feed, put it in there.
Yeah.
And there's a thing where you can do clips, so you can promote yourself with little clips. But then as a content creator that owns it, you can throw $50 at it. Yeah. And then you're getting people to hear your content for a minute and a half, and they're getting 35, 40 sats for it, which is pennies, right? So like I did that and I picked up like 70 new followers just over 4th of July when everybody's, drinking beer in the pool or whatever.
Yeah. The other thing is you can take those clips and the Josh, the butcher, the free market or whatever.
Yeah.
Underground. I don't remember what he calls himself. He takes those and puts them on TikTok.
Mm-hmm. You can put them anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's, and that's what's beautiful about it. What I did tell the Fountain dudes, and I know they're working their ass off because they're trying to get caught up. They're having more success than they planned on, I think.
Yeah.
But when you do the clips, the way it works, and this is cool, John, I think you'd dig this if you had a podcast.
Well, we can get him audio from this.
We can get him a podcast, right? So when you hit clip, it transcribes the entire freaking podcast. It takes like 5 minutes to do it, and it's all in text blocks. And you just scroll through it and pick the text blocks you want, and then form that clip out of those text blocks. Then you add a description and hashtags, and then you publish it. And then it's available in the app, but it's also available in browser. So you can get a link and you can share it on anywhere else. You could send it out an email. You could do whatever you want with it. But to me as a content creator, like my goal is give me 2 minutes of your time talking about something you like, and I will make the sound of leaves falling entertaining for you. And then you'll become a subscriber, right? So the fact that I can buy that for less than a penny a person, like I think that we're going to have whole new ways to leverage what we do. And this is just the most exciting one so far. There's some little buggy things in it too, which is why I haven't really hit it hard with promotion. Like, since you can listen for money, they have some sort of a limit on how long you have to be active before you can withdraw money, so that they don't have the swarm of bots coming in like we have here. But it'd be nice if they told you what the fuck that was. Like, I don't want to be like pushing a bunch of people into it, and then they're like, dude, like, and they're pissed at me and like, I have 905 sats and I can't withdraw it. And I'm like, and I'm going to be like, well, here's your 37 fucking cents and go away. I don't want that experience, right? Because people will get all obsessed because I got 1,100 sats. Dude, you have 41 cents. Okay.
Yeah, you dropped me 500 sats in the app, which is
what was that, like 13 cents or something?
It's not very much, 10 cents or something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. And so then I'm like, oh, I can stream the podcast, and ended up streaming all back to you because I ended up playing one of your podcasts. But that's the whole point, is you can just automate that stuff. I would love it if they would say, 10 sats a minute with a cap of 500 per podcast episode or something, so I could put a cap on it.
Yeah.
But guys, what we're talking about right now is it's an app called fountain.fm, and you go to fountain.fm to get the right link to download it. It integrates with the Lightning Network. So if you listen to Jack talk about Lightning, this is the skin that makes it easy to use Lightning. Just sort of like Strike does that, but from a podcast standpoint, where we've dreamed about a tipping environment or value for value exchange. And then I know when I went to start setting that up, it was right before Self-Reliance Festival, and there were too many steps. And I went on the forum, I'm like, how do I do this? And then they told me, I was like, I'll get back at you right after Self-Reliance Festival, because I'm not doing this right now. And then this app came out, and it was literally 3 minutes, and I was set up, able to receive Lightning, able to send Lightning, able to stream to other podcasters, and the app itself works really well. So I'm kind of excited about that one.
Have you seen the Rockfin app?
Nope.
It's like YouTube. It looks way better than YouTube, and it has a payment gate in there.
Yeah.
So while you're watching video, you will see how much money the video has coming in while you're watching it. It's awesome, but I have not been able to get set up as a content creator on there. They want a 15-minute phone interview. Yeah. And I've put the phone number in, but nothing ever comes of it. So I don't know how guys are getting on there. I
talked to them because the listener said you should get on there. And here's the deal with it, though. So the only way you make money is you must charge people for the privilege of viewing your content.
Got it.
And in my world, that's kind of like, I was like, okay, guys, I don't have time for another thing if that's how that's going to work. You don't have a monetization program. And I don't know. I think it'd be cool if somebody had that model and said, like, a membership to see all these creators is $5, right? $5 a month. It's like a Netflix subscription, a mini Netflix subscription. And then there's a back end that at the end of each month just takes all the hours, kind of like YouTube Red does, if or whatever the hell it is, premium or whatever. I make a little money on that, but kind of the same thing, but a completely dedicated platform like that. So it's $4.99. So you're not going to have a whole bunch of comments, spam, and bots and shit, because it costs you something for every account, right?
Right.
And then it just gets distributed to all the content creators. So if you watch me for 10 seconds, I might get like a fraction of a cent. And of course, that's impossible with dollars. But that's why I love what Fountain's doing, right? Because if you do it with Satoshis, you can just have it's a math formula. It just goes once a month, right? And then they route everything through their own node, and there's another side of their monetization. And like, you probably haven't done a promotion on Fountain yet, Nicole, but it's pretty cool the way they work it. Because I need to know a company I'm working with is making fucking money, or I don't want to work with them. Because when they go out of business, I've got all this leverage against it, and now I'm screwed, right? So That's why, like, when I started my show, people were like, why don't you use like any of these free podcast hosting services? No. No way, because, you know, and SoundCloud was around back then, but no one knew if it was like, I'm not gambling on this, right? I'm not having my whole catalog of work on somebody else's box. So yeah, I think we can get to a point where that type of thing works. So what they do is I put $50 in to promote a clip. They take $10 and 40 of it goes to people that listen to the clip. And so that, to me, they're making 20%. I think in tech, 20% is a low margin. But if it's highly leveraged 20%, then because what are they really doing for it other than perfecting their system? And once their system works, it's just customer service. And that money, like, this is what I love about what they're doing. And I want to see more apps do this. We constantly talk about, whether we realize it or not, when we talk about like doing business with each other, free themselves, plan communities, all this shit, what we're actually talking about is a circular economy. We're talking about trying to keep as much money as we can in the fold. And it doesn't matter if the fold is me here in Texas and you and John in Tennessee and somebody Brian up in Washington and Joel out in Florida. As long as it's in our circular economy with as little entropy bleed out of the money as we possibly can have. That's what we're actually trying to do with all these things, whether we realize it or not. So if you can basically empower that with an app, then you can build that to do anything. And like I don't know if this is supposed to be what we're talking about today, but like
we talk about whatever we want, man.
There's another app that's doing really freaking cool shit called Breeze. They're also a Lightning app. They're on the value for value of podcasts, but they're like an app that can hold other people's apps, even if that app is a standalone. So you have like a mothership app. So like they have one app they've integrated called Geyser, and it does fundraising. So you know, GoFundMe and all that shit. Go fuck yourself. Right? We don't do anymore. You can't censor it. Go away. Goodbye. They also have inside that same app, it's one of their features, a point of sale feature. So if you're taking Bitcoin in payments over Lightning and you want to be able to actually integrate with your POS, you can actually, like, I don't know exactly how you integrate it because I don't do a point of sale. I sell a membership, so screw it. But if you're selling goods in the real world and somebody comes in and wants to pay with it, you can literally pull up, put in a SKU number and everything for it, quantity, and basically it creates a point of sale receipt for your record so you can do your shit on your end. Right. And like those are just two apps. And that's how much we're doing with just two apps. Like it's finally the case that with Lightning, Bitcoin can do all the shit that everybody ever wanted it to do. And then the shit coins are just, I mean, they're losing their fucking minds because every justification for every one of them is like, I don't need you anymore.
Hey, Nicole, thanks for the super chat. I don't know which channel it was on, but it does not matter. All of us appreciate it.
It was to me. Yay. Thank you.
Pretty sure you can super chat any channel. Just saying.
Yes, you can.
What's your temperature there, guys?
What's our what?
Heat.
We're almost 100 degrees for like
right
the last
now?
several weeks. We're 90. No, we're about 90 right now.
105 yesterday.
94. I'm about 5 to 10 degrees cooler than Nashville at all times.
And then you walk outside and your screens immediately fog. Everything fogs up.
Yeah, glasses.
I'm literally coming back inside, taking a shower, and putting on dry clothes.
Yeah. Yep. It's been insane. I time my garden time either super early in the morning, so I've already done garden time this morning, or after 4:30. It's still miserably hot, but it's a whole lot less miserably hot than when the sun's beating on me. But It's been, my AC in my house is not keeping up very well. We have big news here, though. The Roasting Shack got a 22,000 BTU mini split installed this weekend. So now when I roast, it's not also 20 degrees hotter in the Roasting Shack than outside.
So what is the temperature while you're roasting now?
I don't know. We'll find out today.
97.
Like I have somebody else roasting right now. It was 120 to 130 in there on hot days. It was terrible. And I'd like roast and then run outside, and it kind of felt good outside, even though it was hot. Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah,
I just bought like a little miniature, high efficiency, very, very quiet window unit for my office because one, I don't hate money, so I don't like paying to cool the whole house down to where I'm comfortable. But with the way this old house is, if I actually kick the air up enough so that it's comfortable in my office, the freaking kids are freezing.
Yeah.
Right. So like I'm wasting money and I'm pissing them off. So I got this little remote here, and I can just adjust temperature now. I'm a much happier Jack.
Happy Jack.
I'm trying to do the animals just as the sun's coming up, and then usually about 6:30 I go back outside 6:30 in the evening and drag hose and add water and stuff. But the chickens, like we've gone from about 100 eggs a day to 10 to 20 eggs a day. Like they're not even. I've never seen this happen before in the summer.
Yeah. Did you get any of that rain?
We weren't here, but yes, we got a little bit of rain, but not enough to even fill the swales up.
Yeah, we didn't. We got rain that sounded great for about an hour, and I went out and I looked, and the clay between the grass that's still alive was still cracked and bone dry.
Yep, same here.
So it was like a Jack Texas rain.
It's awful. I haven't seen any significant water in my swales since September last year. I've got black locusts that are dying. Not just sick, dying, that I'm having to literally like run sprinklers around the property and individually water sections like on life support. We have trees in our forest behind us that belongs to the neighbor. Those trees are 30, 40 years old, and they're looking like if we don't get rain in the next few months, we're going to have trees that are 30 years old dying. Yeah. Like there's a creek that I fish occasionally for stock for my backyard ponds. It's about 6 miles north of me. I stopped by it the other day when I ran by the store. It's not running. It's not dry, but it's not running. So there's like pockets of holes, and I really need to go up there and harvest some fish because, like, they're gonna die. They're gonna die. Like, I mean, I have never seen anything like this. Yay!
Yeah.
I've got hundreds of poplar and willow trees. Luckily, they're all on swales, so I can water them all within about 20 minutes. But I've got another 300 sitting here in boxes. And I've got another 100 out in the kitchen that are growing, just sitting there bare root. But it's not even worth putting them in. Like maybe we can wean them through and just keep spraying them with water, and they'll kind of grow in the bags. Yeah. But if we put them out there, it's going to toast them.
What I like about what you did, what I saw when I was up there, is the way you have that fodder section. It literally is like you could put one freaking whirlybird, and you can water the whole fucking thing. And that like seems the crazy density to plant something like hybrid poplar or willow because they can be such big trees. But as a fodder system, it's freaking great. And then so what you've done now, you create apocalypse-proof feed, right? Because with that giant-ass lake, you could conceivably run a line and have a solar pump. Yep. And you could irrigate from that pond, right? I mean,
yeah, we absolutely can. We actually pump water uphill so that we can move it downhill should we need to.
Yeah.
The beauty of that system is you drop a hose in the first swale and it'll just overflow and cascade and fill them all. My problem is I forget to turn the damn hose off. So man, I can't, I'll bet my water bill is going to be an extra $1,000 this coming payment cycle because I've left the hose on twice. I bought these boxes, so I just turn the knob and it'll cut out at 15 minutes or 30 minutes now. So I've kind of
so that's what I just put in there. Orbit makes a little mechanical timer, and you just I had to get those because I'm way worse. Like, fortunately, I don't pay for my water because I have a well. But I've had Dorothy will be like, "Why are all the ducks over there all happy?" I'm like, "Oh no." So I turned that on last night. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and I've literally at least that shit will grow now, I guess.
So will the gravel.
I laughed so hard when John said that because literally yesterday I'm topping the aquaponics system. Tactical walks in. He's like, "Why do you have the hose in the ebb and flow bed?" I was like, "Oh no, it's gonna overflow." He's like, "Oh no, it already overflowed."
We're past that, right?
I've had because I leave the hoses on, right? I'll just kind of I have a cutoff valve between them. I'll run 100-foot sections. So I'll just cut the section off I need and use quick fits so I don't have to pull 300 feet of hose. My fittings are failing this year. I'm having I have coming off of a frost-free faucet, I've got a Y with springs. So when I pull on them, I don't torque them. I've had 2 of those things actually fail while the thing's on. So, I mean, you've got hours of water just running where those fittings have literally just failed. I've never seen it happen before.
Yeah, I have a lot of fitting failure too. My water's really freaking hard. So I have any place where I use fittings like that, they're not that expensive. Once a year, I just freaking replace them. And what I do though is I take the old ones, and it's probably time to clean this bucket out. I throw them if they're not broke. I throw them in a bucket as a backup.
I
Like
have
whenever
Yep.
yeah, I've always done that. Like, so if I do like do a job on a vehicle and I change like the hoses and the belts,
Yep.
if they weren't filled, I just put them in a box, and then if one happens to break, you've got a backup.
Yeah, we got buckets full of stuff like that. Or when you buy shelving units and they've always got extra hardware, we save all that shit. And you'll have a new guy come in and he's cleaning and trying to, be of use.
Organize shit.
Like, can we get rid of this? No. Fuck.
No.
What happens when the day comes when you can't get it? We went to 3 Lowe's, we went to 2 Home Depots, Tractor Supplies, and Walmarts all a couple weeks ago, and we couldn't get those hose fittings, those like 5-inch hose fittings with the spring. Nobody had them. They all come from the same hardware company. They set out this big cardboard box, rip the top off, and it comes with so many of each fitting. So every single company is getting them from the same company, and they're not here this year.
Yeah. I just bought a bunch of just the hose and repair stuff.
Yep.
Because that was gone for a while, and I found a new supplier where I can get them for like 20% of what I used to pay for them. So I ordered like 3 packs of them because, they fail too. They get, and on those, like, this is one of those little things that you learn the hard way, because the problem with learning from experience is life gives you the test before it gives you the lesson, right? That's so the ones that have a little like hose clamp and you tighten it, they work great. But when you reach down to unscrew one and it's fucking wet and hot and you're just in a hurry and your finger hits the end of that hose clamp, it fucking cuts you like a razor blade, even though it's not sharp.
Yep.
And it always cuts you in a place that sucks to be cut, right? So the ones that have like the 2 screws in the shackle that goes around it, they're more reliable and they don't cut you. So those are the ones that I recommend. Like, I think little shit like that is something. I almost wonder if there's like, do we have like a segment like for this or for one of our things or whatever, like shit that you should know but you don't, and it's all little shit that like half the people that hear it are like, God, what kind of idiot doesn't know that? And it's like, well, you probably won't know the next one, so why don't you chill out? Like, I was out spreading some straw a few months ago in the duck house, and I had a pair of regular plain old slip joint pliers, and I went to cut the bales, and I thought they were string bales, and they were wire bales. So with a regular pair of slip joint pliers, there's a little notch in the back of them, and you can cut wire with it. Now, it's not good for cutting soft wire, but rigid wire, it'll snap right through it. So I'm like, I bet you a lot of people don't know that. So I made a quick little video, like a minute long, saying, hey, did you know this? And I got a complete mix, like 50-50 almost, of you're an idiot if you don't know that. And like a whole bunch of honest people going, I was today years old when I learned that you could do that. And I
didn't know that until I saw that.
Yeah, I watched it. I didn't know it. I say that all
the did whoever you grew up with teach you that shit? Because if you didn't learn that by the time you were 16, unless you came across it, you're probably not going to know.
Yeah, I say that all the time. When you start farming or homesteading, there's a ton of shit you don't know that you need to know. And the guy that knows it, he doesn't know that you don't know it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, all the time.
We need to call this segment, you're an idiot if you don't know that.
Yeah.
So
those
you're not an idiot for not knowing this. I think that's better, because I'm sure there's shit like that. Like, I had a dude come here, and I really fancy myself as knowing how to like forage different foods and stuff out of the wild. And he's like, "Did you know you have pepperweed on your property?" I'm like, "What the fuck is pepperweed?" And it's this plant, and it grows this little kind of like horsetail looking thing with the seeds on it, and it tastes sort of like pepper, but it also kind of tastes sort of like watercress nasturtium bite. And you just pull these things off, and they call it poor man's pepper. And like, I have tons of it. So I've been living here with it for, I think, 7 years at the time that the guy showed it to me. So everybody doesn't know something. And that's a simple thing. But again, now you got another, and it's like high in nutrients and shit too. So like, it's a supplement. Like, there's so much shit to learn. Like, I think the smarter you get, the more you know how stupid you are. Like,
Lots Project, man. I don't know who you are, but I follow you on TikTok. And I make a conscious effort every time I see your video to leave a comment on your stuff.
Yeah, he was at SRF.
I say that all the time on opening the feedback. I didn't know until literally a year ago. You open a feedback from the right side, and it always opens. If you open it from the left, it does not unchain.
No.
Do you know why that is? It's because they use a hand sewing machine that suspends from the roof, and they run across. And because that machine sews, it's laced in just like a sewing machine. I didn't know that until literally a year ago.
Yeah, so I've had that same struggle, Bus, because all of my burlap coffee bags open like a feed bag too.
Yep.
And
The opposite way.
for me, it's like, is it the 1-string one or is it the 2-string one? And then if it's the 2-string one, it's like 10 minutes while I figure out which stupid string to pull.
And then you don't want to cut them because you want to be able to use those burlap sacks.
Yeah, once you cut the string itself, you're cutting all the way through the string, and you're getting little bits. It
all comes on. Then you can make ghillie suits out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then I saw the thing about the hose fittings. Right, I use 3/4 inch hose. I want to move water a 1/4 mile away on the property. When you buy a 3/4 inch hose, it's impossible to find a 3/4 inch adapter to repair it with. So you've now taken your 3/4 inch hoses and turned them all into 5/8. They're all stepped down, every one of them. And then dragging hoses with those repairs. I got a velociraptor out here, and his favorite thing to do is eat hoses. I have a 100-foot hose with like 10. The guys put it all back together. So I've got like 10 adapters. The hose clamp ones cut the shit out of you. That's what's going to kill me in the apocalypse is the infection.
Infection from a hose clamp.
The big ones that are smooth, though, when you're dragging them, they catch on everything.
Yes, they do.
If you have to come around a corner. I actually had one pull apart this week.
Yeah, I would say I actually, for the couplers, since you don't fuck around with them, I use the old style ones with the clamp because I'm not worried about it there.
Yes.
It's where it's by the fitting. Because that's when you always get cut. You go to unscrew it or screw it on, and I don't know, man. You just touch it, it cuts into you like an empty knife, man. It's just
Yep.
And
I got a question.
Your fingers. Ugh.
I got a question for Survival Punk who's commenting there.
Okay,
dude, why haven't you filled out the presenter application for the October Self-Reliance Festival? I'm just wondering.
Ooh.
I know that, dude. Where the fuck have you been, man? I hope that you're living life on your terms, man.
Where the fuck?
I'm just saying that there's the link because we're making decisions this week.
Yeah, I like that dude, man. I used to run into him in Nashville. I would go out of my way to say hi to him when we were in town.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was to my place in Arkansas, if he's who I think he is.
I don't know
if I've met him or not, but I've emailed with him before.
I think he was on your show. He used to work for Walmart.
Yeah. Okay. If that's who he is, then it's him. That's what I'm thinking it is. James.
Wouldn't he make a great presenter
his own forum and everything?
Festival?
Yeah. Oh, heat shrink over hose. I like it. Good idea.
That's a great idea because it always kind of drips there when I repair it. Just a little bit.
I'm more thinking what John's saying, though, because when you're dragging it, it catches shit. Like in my aviary, I got cross joints and
I had a baby. How's your body? Have you recovered from the baby? Somebody had asked if I was going to get horses, and he kind of stopped short of what I actually say. What I say about horses, and yes, I do want I want war horses. I want big jousting horses.
That's Echo Sierra.
There's two kinds of people that have horses. You have people who have absolutely no money because they have horses, which are most of the ones around here. They live in a shack and have 20 skeleton horses.
Yeah.
And then you have people that have so much money they can have horses. Same with homesteading. You have people that live in poverty because they homestead, and you have people that have so much money that they can have a badass homestead. So I want to be on that later version of that, right? I want to have so much money. I want horses out front. I want zebras and giraffes. I just don't want to have to go out and take care of zebras and giraffes. I just want to walk out. Like I want a greenhouse so big that I can grow coffee and bananas and have parrots free flight in the greenhouse. But the truth is I'm going to have that, but I'm only going to visit it twice a year. I'm going to see it every day when I drive up to the property, but I'm not going to sit in the hot ass greenhouse. I want to have people that are curators. Like when I had my reptile collection, we had thousands of animals. Like I had 2 full-time snake guys. Nicolas Cage's snake guy moved from Las Vegas to work for me for 3 years here. So I started a ton of that stuff because I want it. And then I realized, hey, we've spent $250,000 over the last 3 years in this and have profited none. Yeah. So I still don't have horses, to answer your question.
So, follow-up question to the horse question, since we're on that topic. Any good uses for horse manure? Because no discussion with Jack Spirko and John Willis would be complete if we do not discuss poop. Go.
Yeah.
Like Nicole said something that's stuck with me for the last 2 weeks. She's like, I handle all this shit. Like, you need a shirt that says that with your hands with like shit on them, different types of shit. Horse manure. Would I use it? Yeah, I use a ton of shit people say not to use. Like, this whole property, all the soil was built off of road abatement, cut down where they've sprayed and stuff. Over years, it will absorb and it will pull the toxins out of the soil and stuff. I know that a lot of straw and hay has a spray on it. And I know that a lot of times when animals eat that, it passes through. So when you go to grow in it, shit won't grow because it has an herbicide, even though it was given to animals. Now, I guess the question is, how fast do you have to grow? Because I've got shit growing everywhere here. And when we stepped on this property 7 years ago, it was rock. I mean, it was a gravel pit. So everything's doable. How fast do you want to do it? And also keep in mind, I think we get stuck on a ton of shit as an excuse not to act. Well, This isn't the best, so they just don't ever do it. They like to have the conversation. They don't want to get hot, sweaty, and dirty and just do it.
I think if you composted, a lot of these concerns go away. I think Paul Wheaton has done a great service to humanity, but he has completely created people totally freaked out about everything, everywhere, unless they did it themselves, which most people don't have the things to do it themselves with. So to me, horse manure is a giant rabbit turd. It's compositionally about the same thing.
Imagine where Paul's place would be right now if they could use plastic.
Or plywood.
Yeah, or even plywood. I didn't even know the plywood.
Yeah, you can't use plywood. You can't use dimensional lumber from Home Depot. You can't use pressure treated wood. Like, I mean, that's fine if that's what he wants to do, but Jeff Lawton, who I trust Jeff Lawton's composting advice probably more than anybody else in the world. He says if you bring the total organic matter in your system, so not the compost is obviously huge organic matter, but if you bring the total organic matter up in the place you're growing to more than 3% organic matter, pretty much every toxin you can come up with is locked up and bound up in the carbon cycle. And if we can't fix fucked up shit, to be blunt, we're fucked anyway. Right? Yeah. Now, I wouldn't, like, if you know somebody that has horses and you're like, well, what do you feed your horse? And they feed all hay, and they know it's hay from a source that's every day sprayed with Grazon, I wouldn't want their manure. But if you have somebody that, like, feeds hay when the grass is not doing well and the horse is mostly graze, that's where, then get it from that, and then don't sweat all this other thing. Now, I do have a good use for it and cow shit that I would have never thought of until this weekend. So apparently the farmers in Holland and Germany are pissed because of restrictions on how much nitrogen they can use. So they took literal shit tons of manure, and they blocked the roads in between Germany and Holland to shut down commerce because they're like, we can't grow what you want us to grow for you with these new environmental restrictions. So here you go. And there was videos of, like, and I mean big front end loaders unloading back of flatbed lowboys and dumping mountains of shit in the middle of the road.
Like in France. Did you see them with the manure spreader?
Yeah.
Loading the buildings and shit?
Yeah. Piss your farmers off. Go ahead. It makes about as much sense to piss off a farmer as it does a waitress or a bartender that's going to go get your shit without you seeing them do it.
Yeah, we need some of that.
Like, go ahead.
We need some of that in the States.
Yeah.
Well, I can share a real horse manure story from early years in the holler where I had a garden and didn't have access to any of the great rabbit poop I have now. A friend of mine had a horse. I got a truckload of horse manure, put it straight on the garden without composting. It did not kill a single plant that way because it was too hot. But I got the weirdest damn weeds because the reason you want to, it's hot and it might kill your plants, I guess. But if you don't compost it, you don't kill those seeds and you get everything that horse ate that passed through its system. And so I created a bad weed problem for myself by not composting it first. But it makes great fertility additive to your soil if you compost it first. That would be my thought on horse manure.
If you ever want to do a compost show, Jack, you have access. You might not realize it, Billy Bond and William from Permapasture's farm. You met them here.
Yeah.
William lived for 6 months with Jeff Lawton. That was his protege. And like, those guys are the compost masters, man. And he went to Australia for 6 months with Jeff Lawton.
Billy's going to be on the show within the next few weeks.
Good. It's
awesome. 5 weeks out. I don't know, wherever Dorothy booked him, but I booked him as soon as I met him. And we at least tentatively have an agreement that he's going to come to my workshop in November.
So those guys, you know, when you meet somebody, you've been doing something and you're going down this course for 10 years, and then you meet somebody and you just mesh, and then you find yourself thinking when you do things, how would Billy do it? What would William think about this, right? When you have somebody that's not even present and they're in your mind, you know you've met the right person, right? You know that there's something there.
Yep.
Billy and I figured out we hung out in the same bar together.
Yeah,
and
I was there.
We know what each other looked like back then, and we're not sure, but we're pretty sure that we were like, we literally drank a beer together at some point in our past.
I think I'd like to introduce you to people like that, Jack.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it. That was good. I'm actually thinking this year I'm going to take a little bit different approach with my workshop. I think I'm going to give presenters, there'll be less presenters, less topics, longer time. Nick, I'm going to have present on basically independence from the feed store.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give him a 2-hour block to do that. And I'm thinking if as long as Billy and I can work out the time frame right, I'm going to give him like 2 hours on his shit and make it more intensive on individual things and try to up the quality of the material. Because both of those guys are freaking fantastic. Nick was just here for another weekend. He had consults all over around me, so we put him up in Nicole's room. I get to steal 20 minutes of Nick's time because anytime he's in town, he wants to stay here. Yeah. So I'm like, absolutely, you can stay here. And then I have to make sure I know what his schedule is so that I can snap. Hey, come look at this for a minute. 10 minutes here and 10 minutes here. But that's how that fodder system happened. He happened to be here. And I said, hey, Nick's going to be here. Bob Lester came here to drive the tractor. And Nick was here for 5 minutes. And then 6 weeks later, he sees it. He's like, yeah, that's perfect. So we just got lucky that he needs to stay here. Yeah. Well, and I get questions all the time. Do you have somebody you can recommend as a permaculture consultant? And I'm in whatever state that's far away from Louisiana. And I'm like, you're just not going to get a different answer because everybody I've referred to that actually takes work has made my people who I've referred to them unhappy. I have some other people I would recommend, but they're not taking design work. I'd recommend Ben Falk. He's not taking design work. I'd recommend Bill Wilson at Midwest Permaculture. He's not really taking design work, right? And people that are taking work right now are busy, and people that are good are
really busy.
And he's
that are good. The price went up.
Yeah. I mean, Mark Shepard's great, and he'll do design work, but he's not for our people, generally speaking. Maybe Ken Berry, maybe. Like Mark's wanting to design, you want 500 acres if you're bringing Mark Shepard in. You want a true agricultural concern the permaculture way, or I'd say at least 100 acres. Like people that are like, I want to build up my homestead for my family and my 2 neighbors. Like you're buying a Ferrari instead of a Corvette. Like that's what you're doing there. Grazon, that's what I was talking about, John. Yeah. That's the chemical. Yeah. That's the worst. Paul's right about that. But again, how much? The guy that grazes his horses and very occasionally feeds hay because he has to, I'm not worried. I don't give a shit what's in it. And my thing I've always taught people to do, and this is really simple, and Paul just shakes his head when you explain this because it's not the Paul doctrine, right? And again, Paul's a sponsor. I love Paul, but it's just there are things that people get stuck on. All I do is take whatever material it is. I don't care if it's horse poop. I don't care if it's straw. I don't care what it is. And I take a little bit of it, and I put it in the bottom of a bucket, and I fill the bucket up 3/4 away with water. I let it sit in there for a day. I strain it off so I'm not making poop freaking soup. And then I plant a couple beans in some pots, 2 pots. Oh, yeah. And I water one with regular well water, and I water the other one with the source water. If they grow about the same, or the one with the source water does better, it's safe. Legumes are the first thing to get fucked by these chemicals, right? So if you grow a bean and you're watering it with like straw water and it's got ick in it, that thing is going to just look miserable. And then I know not to use that source. And it's so simple. It takes because beans grow fast. It takes a freaking week. And I can or can't trust this source.
So imagine if you had 100 bales of hay and you tested it and it didn't grow, how much that would suck, right? You have all these farmers around here because it's a tax diversion. They pile up all their bales of hay and they let them rot for years out in the field. And you can get that for free if you're willing to go get it if you know the farmer. We rolled out probably 20 bales of hay, and they roll out, they're probably a foot thick, right?
Yeah,
We couldn't mow over them for a couple of years. Shit grew in them. It was a moldy, nasty mess, but it became dirt. Like it rotted down. So it worked. I have a real funny horseshit story. We have this old man pull up here. Looks like Amish. You know, he's Mennonite. He's driving this broke-ass red F-150, has no reverse. He would pull up here, and we would have to push him back to get him going. So he brings these bags, these big, like, white burlap bags. They're not burlap. They're fiber. And he's like, I've got this horse shit from the Amish. And I'm like, okay, how much do you want for it? So we buy a couple bags, and about a week later, we have them in the feed shed, don't think nothing of it. A couple weeks go by, he's like, I can get 100 bags. I'll give them to you for $10 a bag or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
So I cash this guy out, and I have the guys. It takes like an hour to unload all these. We have them full in the shed. A couple months go by, and the guys are like, hey, this horse shit is really in the way. I'm like, okay, take it to the upper field and start spreading it out. They come and get me. That motherfucker sold us half bags of rocks. Like, I've had some crazy Amish Mennonite dealings. And I think they're posing as they're fake Mennonite, they're fake Amish. Like we bought honey. We had this dude that would drive. He would park at the McDonald's in town with his horse and buggy, and he had the whole get up, right? But when you buy his honey, it wasn't honey. It literally was more akin to motor oil. I don't know what the fuck it was, but there was always, and he always had like 2 chickens in cages. It was he was a con man, and. Man, they got me good on the bag of rocks and the horse shit. We still have
rocks actually cheaper than poop.
What's that?
Are rocks cheaper than poop?
I don't fucking know, man. But they got. If
you had to get rid of them, they are. If they're in the way.
Yeah.
Like if you pushed in a place for foundations on a subdivision and you had a giant pile of fucking rocks that you didn't know what to do with.
It's like
I'll tell him to John Willis. That dumbass will buy rocks.
Yeah, it's like the metal scrappers. If you're honest with yourself, and you paid yourself minimum wage to drive around all day, find the metal, get the metal, go get the metal, you could have. I mean, McDonald's is paying $20 an hour right now. Like, how much money are you really making out in the heat?
I do know a dude that makes money doing it, but he's got all these other contractors that do shit like. The way I met him is when my fence got fucked up and a guy plowed through 200 feet of my fence and it had to be right. So the guys that do the fence work come in, they cut it all up into pieces, and then Metal Dude just shows up and picks it up. So he's not driving around. He's responding to calls. So I talk to him, he books his shit, and he literally calculates like I should pick this one up first, this one up second, and he rolls out like 3 times a week only. So they'll say, we need you to pick it up. And he's like, I'll be there Tuesday at 8. And he's like, then I'm there at Tuesday at fucking 7:59. I'm never late. So my guys, if somebody else comes and tries to do that, are like, because you don't want me, the customer, pissed that all this shit's still laying there, right? So like he makes money doing it, but I'm with you. Like the people that just drive around and then go, and then you got to go ask somebody if they want to get rid of it. And you had some old man with a shotgun pointed at you because he thinks it's, going to be on Antique Roadshow one day or something or whatever.
My man right there, STOS, that's a good dude. You had him on the show.
Yeah,
he said Mennonite gypsies. Speaking of gypsies, have you ever had the dude walk up with the fake Rolex and the suit that doesn't really fit selling asphalt?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
We call them Irish gypsies, I think.
Yeah, he's like, I can put in. I've got a little bit of asphalt left over.
That's all the same shit. Yep,
$2,500, and then as soon as they get the $2,500 on the ground, they're like, "Oh, we've got a little more. It's raining." It's raining. It sounds like hail. And then all of a sudden they show up and they can give you some more asphalt for another $2,500.
Yeah. Like we had a guy do that here and I almost shot the mother fucker because I have that big gate that I have in the front, Nicole. So I just opened it. I'm getting ready to drive out, and this fucker comes flying down my road, realizes I'm there, almost freaking hits the fence, and cuts in and cuts me off from pulling out of my own gate. And those guys are always in perfectly clean white trucks. That's their other thing, along with their fake Rolex. And he starts that shit, and I'm like, you need to get the fuck off my property before I shoot you. And so he's like, well, I know what you're going to say, and you need to get the fuck off my property before I shoot you. So he goes down the road to the dude I buy a cow from every year or two. And like he's sniffing around down there. And I ended up chasing him down the road and taking pictures of his fucking plates and shit, just so he knew that I had done that. So he'd go somewhere else. But he was basically scouting the whole neighborhood. Like, that's a scam. Yeah. I think they call them Irish gypsies. I'm not sure. It's always $2,500. It's always.
Always.
Oh, no, but they'll make you a deal if you're like, I don't have $2,500. Well, how about $900?
Yeah. That's got a little left over. That's all. I got a little left over. Hey, we got some more left over. Do you want me to cover that? Get the fuck out.
Somebody said rocks are a resource. So we originally had the kids out picking rocks up, and we would take them and put them in the dumpster and all kinds of shit. And now I need rocks all the time. If you have animals, they're constantly digging, and you use rocks to keep them in their pens. Especially those ducks, man, the ducks they will work their way out of everything other than a rock.
Yep. Okay, before we went live, we talked about how do you approach a content creator to, I don't know, get an interview on their show or do something. Jack, how do you do this?
Let's start off with what you don't do.
Vague.
You don't be vague, but here's what you really don't do. You don't put, dear influencer, I really respect the value of your time, period, enter 900 paragraphs of your life story. Don't do that. Because I said before when we were off air, like, if I probably won't remember you if you do that, I just delete your shit. But if I ever meet you after you did that to me, I'm going to punch you in the face. You're not going to the hospital or anything, but you like, it's like one bro owes another bro a punch in the face. Like, that is like completely, like, I understand that your time's valuable. Now let me shit all over it, right? So don't do that. Be respectful of people's times. Be specific. The other thing, I get a lot of times people like that. I have this great idea, man. It's a great business idea. But will you sign an NDA before I tell you what it is?
Yeah, I'm never signing an NDA.
Go F yourself with a cheese grater.
Somebody else has that idea. Right? Like, I hate to tell you this.
I don't have time to steal your idea. And the fact that you think I would while you're coming to me for my help, like, I don't want to hear it. I want very specific what you're looking for from me. I don't even need a lot of what you're doing. And I'm probably still going to say no. So you need to ask lots of influencers for help. And then if you do get somebody to help you, you might come back to me and say, John said he's willing to work with me on this. Oh, really? Right? Like, then I might take a little harder look, and I might say yes the first time too. I say yes all the time. I say no all the time. The reason we say no is isn't because we don't like you. It isn't because we don't think you have a good idea. It's because how many freaking hours in the day are there, and how many of them do we work already? Right? So, like, how much is it going to take for me? And then the other thing I would say is, do not come to me to promote your thing that doesn't exist yet.
Yep.
Like, I'm not leveraging my brand that I spent 14 years building to sell your thing that's not a deliverable when you want me to do it. You better have some people that are already buying using whatever your thing, if there's a thing involved. If there's a legitimate, like, when I do this for you, people are going to buy into it in some way, and if it fails, it's going to hurt me. I'm not going to do that. I did it early because I wanted to help everybody. I am very stringent on that now. Like,
mine is I don't like you. Not really, but I fast won't like you. 3 bullet points, and only if you can't do it in 2. Tell me what the fuck you want, and tell me why I want to do it. Right? We get hit up all the time on the NDA thing, and when I'm like, no, we're never signing an NDA, and they tell you anyways. 9 out of 10 times, I've got it already sitting in a bag. We already built it. Will you do this thing? No, nobody wants it. Well, what do you mean? Well, 35 years in business, it doesn't exist still. That's because nobody fucking wants it. And then the other one is, hey, I really love your stuff. Really? What do you love? Because I don't recognize your name. Where have we interacted, right?
Yeah.
Where are the videos?
Oh, that's...
Hey, can I test this thing? You have 500 subscribers on your YouTube channel. I've been in business 35 years. If you want to do some testing, buy some shit, make an awesome video. And if the video is awesome, I will share your link, which is going to expose you to over 1 million eyeballs. I'm going to do more. You're going to get more business just reviewing my product and being able to put my company name in your video than anything else you've done thus far. So, and then when you tell them no, like, just keep in mind, we all talk. When you fire back with some pitty little bullshit, you have literally just locked yourself out of the entire fucking industry forever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And
how many times just the three of us have we been like talking about something like, oh, I know that motherfucker. And like, it's like, you're dead. You're dead. Not dead to me. You're dead to everybody that we talk to like this.
Yeah. Every now and then I'll have somebody that I know. It's like, I want to be on Jack's show, and I'll hit Jack up. I'm like, hey, this is a good motherfucker. Like, I know him in real life.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Or, hey, can we schedule a phone call? No, there's not a published phone number for a fucking reason. If you couldn't, you just wasted your, can we schedule a phone call? You just fucking blew that whole wad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
I get
send
that
a
all the time.
email with, I still don't know what the fuck you want. Like,
yeah.
I don't talk to my mom on the phone. Like, if she called from heaven, Mom, I'm not answering. It's going to say Mom. I'm going to be like, yeah, Mom better send an email.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is, basic business letter writing 101, old school style, learned in 1989. Okay. Dear person, point of this entire letter. You might add a, hey, how are you? But I never did because I don't
even need that.
Point of the entire letter in one sentence. And then if there was more information, it was below it. And I could then look at it instantly, decide if I'm reading the rest of it. I literally want that treatment in email. And I know that people who listen to us, like, we're talking to you on our podcast and you're like talking back to us in your heads a little bit. So you feel like you've already had a conversation with me or with Jack or with John about the thing you want to talk to us about, but you haven't. And so just like really clear first sentence gets you a lot further. And I'm saying this, there are a couple people listening to this who feel targeted now. And you kind of are, because more than one of you have emailed me in the last week. And I have no hard feelings. Like, I'm not going to punch you in the face, but I need to know your point, or I don't know if I can help you. Like, I'm writing for a guy once a week for free right now who asks a prepper question, because when he reached out to me, he asked me to do it up front and then told me how why it mattered to me. And then he told me what was required. And I said, this is what I can do. I can't promise I'll do it every week, but I will do it. And that almost because of how he approached me.
That almost sounds like the formula for asking a question on the Survival podcast.
Totally is.
Put TSPC question in the comment line. Give me your question in 1 or 2 sentences. Hit the return a couple of times, and then give me details.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's, and the other side of this too is when you do contact somebody and they do respond to you, pay attention to what they said. So I get Twitter DMs all the time. Okay, this is interesting to me. From now on, contact me by email. Here's my email address. DM, delete. Right? Yeah. Okay, I know this isn't going to work. Right? This is not going to work because I gave you one simple instruction and you were incapable, because I don't do that because I'm a dick. I do that because I don't spend my life on Twitter. And I'll be on Twitter one day and I'll be like, fuck, look, there's like 18 DMs here. So I've ignored all that. But if you're in my email, I'm going to batch that shit 4 times a day and I'm going to see it. So I'm doing it for you. But if you can't follow that instruction, and I know it sounds, some people are saying, these people are like elitist assholes. No, we just value our time and we have procedures. I get the same shit about the form. Well, we could just do it Monday. No, motherfucker, this is my job. This is my business. Right? I don't book people. The form goes to Dorothy. Dorothy books the person. There's a procedure in place so that we don't like have a guest sitting in my StreamYard room like this and I'm outside feeding chickens, right? There's a procedure in place to make sure that everything runs on schedule. And that's all this is like, I'm only going to say yes to so many people with so many things they ask for. And then it has to fit into a procedure so that like, I don't commit to you, I'm going to do a thing. And then I don't do it. Like, even though I might not really know you and I don't really owe you anything. Once I said I'll do it. I do owe you. And you guys are like me. Like, we are doing a million things at a time. If it's not into a procedure, it gets deleted. Like, you know, you said there's no hard feelings with some of the people who feel called out by you.
Yeah,
There's
we don't
none
remember.
either, because I won't remember you.
Yeah.
Like, it's water under the bridge. You can take another shot at it with this instruction sheet. Maybe it'll work.
DMs are an instant formula for me forgetting we ever talked.
Yeah.
That's like, so direct messages to me, we walked by each other in the hallway at school in junior high and you said some shit. And then I went on with my day.
Yeah.
I don't know where to find it again. I don't remember to follow up. My email, although I am slow to answer, I'm slower than Jack. I will eventually answer you because I will clear out my inbox and I'll be like, okay. And so that's why when Jack and I are driving you the email, that's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, John gets away with direct messaging me because he's John Willis.
I realize Gary Vanderchuck has told all you guys, slide into their DMs, right? Gary is heavily invested in all those companies. He needs you to use that tech. There are, in Instagram alone, I have 3 private message groups inside there, right? I have primary, like secondary, and then all the other shit. And in the other shit, when I happen to go there, there's 3 more categories in there. And there are thousands of direct messages in there. If you want to get my attention, interact in the comments and help somebody that's asking a question. Just that's the fastest way. Like, if you want to get my attention, help somebody on my social media that's asking a question of me that you know the answer to. That's the fastest way to get eyeballs. That's absolutely the fastest. And
because you're not valuable.
Yeah.
You're not valuable to me. You just did free customer service work for me. I owe you to at least listen to you.
Especially if your shit's right. Especially
well, let's be clear, right? Yeah, yeah.
And the guy that Nicole's writing for, he asked me to do the same. I'm on that email list. Every time he sent me something, I have intended to make a video by Tuesday. Like when he was asking about the power, what are we doing about, rolling blackouts?
Power,
This computer's sitting on a giant Blue Eddy battery box, and there's 2 more right over here. I have every intention of doing that. I was flattered that you asked me to do it. I just don't have the scope.
Yeah, it's outside. It's also outside your norm, right? Like today, we have a 9 o'clock live stream with Jack. That's usually at 12:30. So last night, I'm like, John, my calendar reminder just emailed me. Don't forget, we're going live at 9 in the morning, because that thing that Jack did, where he's like, somebody's sitting in the live stream while you're feeding your chickens, is 100% what would have happened this morning had I not had a way to remind myself, because it's out of my usual rhythm. Likewise, I've rarely taken a weekend interview, because the couple of times I have, I've totally spaced it. I don't have email on my phone. And then it's 3 hours later and I'm like, this morning I said I'd be live at 7 and I'm not there, Yeah.
And then, like, if you want somebody for like an interview, like you want me to be on your shit. Like, I'm dealing with these people from England right now that don't understand. Like, don't send me a date and a time. Like, send me multiple dates and multiple times. And because otherwise I'm going to be like, no, that doesn't work. No, that doesn't work. No, that doesn't work. And then don't send me the same exact date and time I already said no to, but 1 week later. It probably doesn't work again. There's probably a reason 8 o'clock in the morning on a Monday doesn't normally work. Right? Like, so if you're trying to get somebody that's busy onto a podcast of your own or some kind of interview, give them diverse times. Give them an early time, give them a midday time and a late day time. And people think I won't do that because like all my interviews are noon Wednesday, right? Let me tell you what, I told my wife with Natalie Burnell, do whatever the fuck she needs, because not only is she a big name, she's traveling all over the damn world, and I'll accommodate that person. So I'll take my own advice on that when someone has to be able to do that. When I'm bringing somebody on that's not very well known and they have I expect you to adjust to our schedule because we run a business. But if I'm trying to get somebody on the show that is a higher level guest I will accommodate them. And I would never have Dorothy say, hey, you can have this day and this time. And then they say, I can't do that. And then just throw them one more. Like, give people options or ask them, like, what's good for you?
Yeah.
Because what I'll tell you what's not good for me. These are not good. Now you tell me what you have that's not one of those. And then if that person does that, 99% of the time, I will bend something. I'll do something. But like, I got this guy right now and they're really tiny. And I try to do like one of those a month just to give back. And I keep getting it. Well, what about this Monday at 8 a.m.?
Yeah.
I'm done.
Any Monday at 8 a.m.? No?
No.
When's a good time? Fucking never.
Yeah.
Never
Like on the bigger names, I'll say we do these Wednesday lives at 12:30, right? Because John and I usually go on Wednesday, except for first Tuesday with Jack. And anytime this month, choose your time, minus the first week and the third week. But if that time doesn't work, just tell me what time of day and day of the week will work for you. And then I just have to, shovel it.
Yeah.
But that's, it's better if people can, who are maybe less well-known can make it work. Like the first time I was on Jack's show and Dorothy said, can you do this date at this time? I said, yes. And I canceled everything that day. And then she said, can you move it to this different week? And I said, yes. And I built a website the same morning I went on your show so that I wouldn't be an idiot on your show selling coffee through
Without
a stupid
website.
But well, I mean, I had one, but it was not the name of the business, which is what you want for your website.
Okay.
Like Great Wolf Tactical right there. He says, y'all remember to hit the like video. That's adding value, right? That's a comment he can make. You've seen him comment in here several times. I've noticed Liberty Meat Solutions comment. I'm wondering who that dude is. I'm going to go check his page out. Great Wolf Tactical, he's got a great TikTok page. Like I see, like TikTok is working, guys. You notice I have said, hey, I've seen you on TikTok. That's because the shit works right now. That's how I know Great Wolf is commenting. That's how I know Lot's project is commenting. Because when I open it, it's present and it's there. You guys should follow both those guys on TikTok.
Yeah,
and for guys that don't know, Great Wolf, he worked here for years. Like he handled all the shipping. He maimed a lot of animals. Like he can shoot really well and teach people to shoot, but he can't shoot animals. And I'm being an asshole. I'm being funny. But we're like, hey, we need to kill this goat, and he'll show up with a .308 battle rifle or something. But that's a good dude. Like I appreciate him. We are friends today. We were not I'm hard to work for. I understand that. Some of my best friends and most valuable people in my life now, we parted on pretty tough ways and kind of met back in the middle. And a lot of times they try. I'll reach out and I'm like, hey, you know what? I need to tell you that I was fucking wrong, and we should probably get together and talk, right? And we just grow, and we grow in a little bit different directions, and we both I matured, and that dude's of value to me. I just want to put that out there.
And you were talking about how somebody can get into your orbit by helping one of your people in the comments. That's one way. Another way is by sharing the content. So I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I don't get it when I put something out and it gets 119 likes and it gets two retweets or 2 forwards or 2 shares, right? The likes are cool and all. I'm glad you liked it, but it doesn't really help me, right? But when you share my stuff, and I think a lot of times people are but I only have 10 people following me. Okay, so let's take 10 times 100. Now you just gave me 1,000 more exposures. You're part of that. And I don't notice who likes my shit, right? But I notice the people that retweet or share or whatever it's called on whatever platform. I notice that.
Yeah, that's the one thing on TikTok. Is there a way to share actually on TikTok somebody else's stuff, John? Because that's the thing where I'm
I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. I haven't figured out how to do that. Okay, I will figure out.
Yeah, it's there. I've shared yours.
Yeah, I can share it from TikTok to another platform.
You can.
I want to share it in TikTok.
Type that question into YouTube.
Yeah, and YouTube will teach me how to
find it on TikTok. But YouTube is the new everything, right? YouTube is
technical support.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John just told me to go to YouTube University.
If you ask one of us for help and we give you help and you don't use it, even something like that. So I had a dude email me and he's like, I want to withdraw my Bitcoin from whatever the fuck it was, Cash App or something, which I don't even really recommend. But I'm like, I think you can do that. So I Googled it and there it is. Exactly how to withdraw your Bitcoin to a Bitcoin wallet from Cash App. And I emailed it back to him. Here's a link. It's this is what you do. He emails me back and says, I think I'll just wait until I can sell it and then move it out as cash.
Yeah.
You're on the do not reply list. You're not blocked, but you're on the do not, I'm not going to help you now because you literally didn't read what I sent you. You asked me for my help. I gave you my help and you didn't even read it because you wouldn't send that back if you did. Don't Don't do that to us. We don't have to, like, don't think that we answer every email like that. Like, I get people a lot of times, I think because I do, like, if it's a simple answer, I'll throw an answer back at them. I can't do it all the time.
Yeah.
I do it as much as I can. I try to get, if I get 30 or 40 of those out a day, where I took 30 seconds of my time, that's 20 to 30 minutes of my time dedicated to answering shit that could have been answered with a Google search. And I'll do it here and there because I want to build that relationship. But man, the person that you give the answer to, and they're like, but I want a different answer.
Yeah.
So Liberty Meat Solutions is talking about, so what he's talking about, Nicole, is you can take my video and split the screen and have a reply to it. So you can actually have a two-way conversation on there, and it just draws tons of eyeballs. And when you do that, it exposes their audience to your video as well.
Okay.
The thing, so you guys are going to suck me into this TikTok thing. I have not set up an account there. Everybody says it works. It's like it's another freaking thing to do, though. It's another thing to do. And I specialize in long form content. So I don't know, man. Like,
so TikTok,
you need an assistant, Jack.
TikTok, that? And that's another thing a lot of people don't realize. When you're talking to bigger accounts, you're not talking to the person. Like they have companies that actually, you'll do 20 pieces of content in a day, and they'll trickle them out over a week. People don't realize. And the guy that does that, that's $1,000 a week job. Like a content manager, you're entry level. Like companies are paying those people. So all these people that are like, I wish I had a good job, or can I have can I do this, or how can I make money from remotely? I had a lady that was in Reno, Nevada, and that's what she charges. She's $1,000 a week. She manages 15, 20 companies. She's making $15,000 to $20,000 a week just managing and making social media posts from wherever she is.
And that's great.
I need a minute. I'll be right back.
Yes, take your minute. Take your minute. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. Earlier, we were talking about the drought and your swales and ways to keep water on your property. And I'll just take this moment to highlight, there is a swale workshop in Camden, Tennessee, July 30th and 31st. And we have tickets on sale for that. John, you want to talk to us a little bit about what's happening as a result of it?
So if you guys keep hearing swale, right? I heard Jack talk about swales. I saw a video of Jack's swales years ago. And then everybody all of a sudden is like, I need swales. Well, maybe you don't need swales, right? Do you know? And really, until I saw them on my property, I didn't grasp where they would work, where they wouldn't work. So we had Billy Bond and William out here, and then they hit me up about a week later. They're like, hey, what do you think about putting some swales in? They came out, did a site consultation. We kind of laid out where it's going to go, what it's going to kind of look like. We looked at it from the air with drones. And we're doing quite a big install for 10 acres of property here. There's going to be multiple swales. Starts at the top of the property. We're taking the pond up there and kind of reworking it a little bit so that the angle of the property funnels all the water into the first pond up top. That overflows and comes into a swale system. Now with the swales, what I want you to think of is a 24-inch, well, it's a 6-foot ditch. It's 24 inches, and it's very, soft. At least ours is going to be. All the dirt's going on the downhill side of that, and we're going to plant trees there. And it's doing something else on the property in that it's creating shade. I have big, huge areas that are so sun-cooked right now, there's nothing growing there. And what I'm trying to do really this year and the next couple of years, the big focus is keeping grass and making grass and having grass-fed animals. We feed our chickens on grass. We feed all of our rabbits on grass. I have sheep tractors being made right now. We're about to bring in small numbers of sheep. And in putting up all these swales and planting them with trees, that will give us some filtered sunlight to the backside to where we'll be able to keep clover and grass growing. And then we can just drag our animals through this course, basically. And then all of the trees will produce something. So we'll still have pasture area where we can do different things, but it will have some filtered sunlight so that they will grow all year long, the grasses. We're going to put all these things in, And we're going to have a tractor here. We're going to have shovels here. We're going to do a little installation, part of it by hand, so you can see, because a lot of guys can't afford a tractor, don't have a tractor. We're going to show you every aspect of installing this. And then in the fall, we're going to plant it with several different types of vegetation in this class coming up the end of July. And then in the fall, we're going to do the actual full fruit tree installation. And there'll be about 100 trees total when it's all said and done. But when it works, it'll come from the top of the property. It'll cascade into the swales. It'll ping pong back and forth those 9 swales. That will overflow into the middle pond. The middle pond will come into some swales out by the horse fencing. And then there'll be a whole separate system in the back also. So if you want to see if this is for you, if you want to see what it actually looks like, if you want some people who have installed big systems and small systems, you're going to have access to actually be there when this happens. And that's the class. We're going to feed you. You're going to get to meet all these people that you actually see online all the time. And you're going to be able to have a conversation for 2 days and be here.
Yep. So that is July 30th, 31st. There's a rumor we might have a third teacher, John. So
Awesome.
we got Billy and William Bond are teaching, and Nick Ferguson is seeing if he can make it work. So the more teachers we have, the smaller the groups are at each swale, because we're installing 3 swales, which means we can divide you up. And then we're going fairly early in the morning. We're starting breakfast at 6 and getting out there so that we can be before it gets super hot. And then we have classroom time in the afternoon under air conditioning. So that will be all on July 30th, 31st. $197 gets you a ticket. That's at Self-Reliance Festival. Just click on workshops at the top, and that'll take you straight to the Swale workshop. And it's going to be a fun one. People have asked about if we're going to live stream it and have digital tickets. The answer is I don't know yet. We plan to record it and have something after the fact, but because of the nature of having a computer equipment out in the hot sun for streaming, I don't know how that'll work, but we're looking at workarounds if we can get that done. Anyway, get your tickets if you can soon, because we will eventually run out of spots.
Hey, ban that guy. Just get rid of him. There's no sense to even time him out.
Jack?
It's the same turd.
Do it.
So there's a dude that makes a new account, says the same shit over and over. Imagine how fucked up somebody's life is that they participate in something that they don't like for any portion of their day, much less every day. Imagine how your life would be if you invested your time into things that you like doing.
Hey, why don't I make a coupon code, Homesteading, and right now we will give 10% off on the Swale workshop with the coupon code Homesteading in honor of that dude.
Awesome.
I'll do it right now.
Monetize those trolls.
Yeah. So this is the guy who was in the comments saying that, you know, basically if you're homesteading, it's not a solution.
Yep.
Which is bullshit. Because the government knows who you are, Jack, and they can come take all of your chickens.
It's the same mindset of you shouldn't own property because you have to pay property tax. What that is, and you hear that a lot in this community.
Poverty consciousness excuse.
Poverty mindset. That's exactly. Yep. I don't want to work hard, so I'm going to use the excuse of I have to pay taxes so I don't own it, so I'm going to continue to own nothing. And when you step back and look at their life, if you ran into them at a grocery store, they're only shopping in the inside of the grocery store.
Yes.
It's the
they're buying ramen and rice.
Mountain Dew and Hot Pockets.
Yeah, ramen, rice, Mountain Dew, and Hot Pockets. You know, here's my response to those 2 things is, first of all, you have to live somewhere. So I can be your landlord, and you can pay my property taxes. Or you can live on your own property and pay your own property. But either way, there's no such thing that you're not going to pay property taxes. The guy that's boondocking in an RV, you know what? If you're that dedicated, I'll give you props for that shit, right? Otherwise, you live in an apartment, you rent a house, whatever. You're paying. You do you think I'm going to pay your property taxes for you? Are you an idiot? And the answer is yes, you are. But the other side of it is I effectively pay no property taxes. And the way I effectively pay no property taxes, I run my business out of my house. I have a really good accountant. She runs a formula that figures out what the square footage of the house we use is for the business. And by the time it's over with, I'm pulling enough out of my income taxes that it covers my property taxes. So I look at that as effectively, I would have to rent an office to do what I do here, which I've done before and I didn't really care for it, I would have that expense plus my home expense. So I'm down to a zero sum on property taxes. And my taxes are high. If your taxes are low and you can't figure out how to do that, you probably don't want to, right? Like I know not everybody that listens to us is going to start a business, but I'm still going to tell you I think you should. And then the ones of you that want to will. Like, I think there's nothing more. You guys, you both run your business, right? Like, is there anything you've ever done in your life that's more liberating than running a business?
No. And I mean, if you come here and you look at this place, this is all my business. The gym, the cars, everything I enjoy doing is in some manner business. And sometimes we need to set up a separate business, but it's still kind of under the same umbrella, whether for structural or, for legal paperwork. But everything I do is somehow involved in business, or I don't do it.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, like, the way I've built my business and the way Jack's built his business is it's our lifestyle. And so for me, it doesn't even feel like work half the time. I work hard at what I do, and it's all stuff I enjoy pretty much most of the time, except for when I have to do my taxes every year, which I bitch heartily about on my podcast multiple times before I actually get off my ass and do it.
Plus, when you buy property, there's all kinds of things you can do, right? You can set up all kinds of shelters and green belts, and I mean, there's trusts. People with a lot of money don't pay taxes because of those things.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, like, okay, you monetize the property, right? And everybody wants to monetize their property growing tomatoes or some shit. I think that's like one of the worst ways to monetize your property. You know what you monetize a property with? You go out and you spend $7,000 and you buy a 400 square foot steel frame building, and you have somebody come plop that fucker on a little foundation for you, and you turn it into a tiny house and you rent that bitch out for $150 a night. That's how you monetize the property, right? And then maybe you build 2 of those, maybe you build 3 eventually, and you do it through HipCamp or Airbnb. And you don't be like, oh, they take fees. So you do that, so you have insurance, and when somebody's a problem, you can have them immediately jettisoned from your property. You don't have them claiming to be a tenant, right? Yes. There's so many ways that you can monetize a property. One guy, City Boy Homesteader up in Pennsylvania, he just put in a bunch of glamping sites. He's making a couple $1,000s a month. He doesn't even have a structure. He has like decks with like old antique style wall side tents on them and stuff like that. And, a nice little fire ring or whatever. But I mean, the fire ring, he just went out on his land, got rocks, took a chainsaw, made little seating benches with scrap wood around it and shit like that. And he rents those for between $30 and $50, depending on what they are. Right. I mean, there are ways to make money with your property, and there's not a lot of ways to make money without any form of property. Now, it might not be real property, but like if like you say, well, a podcaster, we don't have any property. We do. It's called intellectual property, right? That's the property because you can totally rip me off. You could get a transcript of my shows, pick out the stuff you think's best, and go out and parrot it and plagiarize me. You still can't deliver it the way I can deliver it. You can't. And you can't, when somebody asks you a question about it, you can't fucking answer it. You don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Hey, ban the John Zena guy. He's back in here. He's probably got a second account that looks the same. Get rid of that.
He's probably on one of y'all's.
Oh, okay, I got it. I don't know. Just guys, I've got coupon code homesteading for 10% off your Swale workshop ticket.
How is he showing up in mine?
Courtesy of John Zena, who I just banned.
If you guys aren't familiar with glamping, even if you're like, I don't want to be a landlord, I don't want to be a property holder, whatever, you should type in glamping into YouTube and just watch a couple channels. There's a guy that comes up out of Joshua Tree who has now bought a bunch of properties in Pigeon Forge. And the numbers he throws out, and he shows you the back end. He's at 95% booked out capacity. He will buy a piece of property that'll literally cost $8,000, and he will have it committed out to $90,000 in 1 year on one property for one, and it's a tent. Like, he put a deck up with a yurt, and then on the other corner of the property, he put a deck up with like he has a military camping tent, like a GP medium with insulation walls and an AC unit in this thing. And he's literally making $70,000 renting out this damn tent. And I mean, they are literally paying all their money.
But it's not really his, John. He has to pay property taxes. He's only renting it. I mean, that's literally the argument you get. It's like, you know what I would totally do? I would totally rent a place for $500 a month and then rent it back out for $3,500. You know how long I can do that for? Ever. Yep. I can do that forever.
Yep.
I live in the middle, literally the most middle of well, I mean, Nicole's got me beat. I'm between Memphis and Nashville, in the middle of nowhere. The only draw that comes into this town is fishing and tactical response.
And Self-Reliance Festival. Hello.
I guess we're pretty big now. But even at 4 times a year, even if we only had 200 people in town, I could rent out everything I have, Airbnb, camping spot, tent spot, whatever, and pay all of my taxes. I could literally make the payment for the entire year off of one event here. Like, anything is doable. You just have to look at it from a different angle.
Yeah. And Scramble says he just had 4 groups of campers this weekend. He's using Hip Camp. It's just a camping spot. Like, that infrastructure is even less than the building that Jack talked about. I've done Hip Camp here. I have it turned off this year because we're doing too many permaculture type projects here and it's all ripped up half the time. But I did really well with camping spots, and people come with their own tent and that's it. I give them an outdoor shower and they're extra happy because they get more from me than most other ones.
Yep. We're putting outdoor showers in here.
Yep.
So here, this is interesting. Wicker Basket is saying, talk to your accountant. Just by doing these rents, you can start renting out. That's any business, guys.
Yeah.
That's because it becomes a business. So I have 2 rooms in this house that I run as offices. My wife's hardly ever in as hers, but if you ever got that deep of a freaking rectal audit by the IRS and they came in, the only purpose of these 2 rooms is offices for the home. My accountant actually wants me to be more aggressive and write off my whole 1,800 square feet of my shop. And I'm like, if I was doing what John is, I totally would. Somebody comes in there right now, they're gonna be like, so you play pool in here? And it's not like I have employees that call it a rec room or anything. I'm like, I really don't. So I haven't done that. But any business, you can do that. And then you get the mileage deductions are huge. You just need to keep a good log and be able to justify it. Meals out 50%. So every time we go out, not every time, most of the time when we go out to eat, we discuss the business because it's our life. So then half that meal is deductible, right?
And wasn't that 100% for the last 2 years? I think we were at 100% for the last couple of years.
I'm not sure about that. I haven't actually sat down with my accountant because when the COVID crap started, we just started sending her all our shit and she just does it and we don't even go in anymore. So I don't know. She would do that if it was. Yep. I didn't notice a significant bump in that item line. But maybe
now he's going to go look. He's going to be like.
But I know that the way I've always got around that for my workshops, Nicole calls it catering.
Catering.
It's not meals. I call it customer training expense. Because it's exactly what it is. I'm training my customers and there's an expense involved in doing it. Right. And we write off all the booze. We write off all the food. We write off everything.
I mean, when I do a workshop here, I just did a chicken processing workshop this weekend. I put money out on food.
Yeah.
And it's legitimately 100% off write-off to feed people at your workshop. It's not like I and another person are going out to eat. I think they justify that 50% thing because you're paying for your own meal, but you're buying theirs.
Yeah.
But here, the food you feed and the drink you give, I mean, we didn't have alcohol at the chicken processing workshop, but
well, in that case,
that would have been like a different workshop.
In that case, what you're talking about, Nicole, that would be a legitimate part of your COGS, your cost of goods sold. Right. So I am selling this thing and this thing comes with this other shit. So therefore, since I'm taking money for it, where when we go out to eat and we sit down, I haven't sold you the meal. That's that because it's not just the other side thing, because if you are eating a legitimate business meal by yourself, because I'm traveling, it's still a 50%.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. We've got a list of questions here. Jack, how much more time do you have with your?
I'm good.
Okay, good.
I'm on at noon with guys, so 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. I'm thinking about dogs getting off feed from the store. Any suggestions? John?
So we grow rabbits, and I grow meat really well. I'm very poor about pulling frozen meat out and eating it. I have a freezer that's got about 70 big chickens in there, every now. I need to get a sword. I really need a sword. I want to hack them in half, right? I need a big cleaver or something. I feed my dogs chicken, whole frozen chicken. I defrost them overnight. I put them in a Rubbermaid container. I have live rabbits. We've got at any day, I've got 100 rabbits here. I take my males and I let them grow up as breeders. When I'm done using those, we feed those to the dogs. We use grow outs because I want to fertilize the ground. When I put rabbits on the grass, it cuts my pelletized feed by about 50%. I take those rabbits, and sometimes I have too many. We'll kill 15, 20 in a day. They go in a chest freezer. I usually, each day, I just kill a couple of rabbits, and I just hand them to the dogs. I have one dog. I have to cut the belly open or slice the neck, get some blood out for her to eat it. She eats everything but the 4 paws. There's hundreds of rabbit paws around her kennel area. The other dog, she just takes it, buries it, eats it within a couple of days. The velociraptor out back, he eats the whole entire thing every day. People walk around in the back, and William's like, what's all this fur back here? It's the rabbit fur that the dog is shitting out. My dogs eat kibble, maybe, and if you're feeding kibble, we use our breeder used, I can't remember the name of it. It went from $50 a bag to it's literally $85 a bag right now. I buy it every couple weekends just to have it should we need it. My dogs eat kibble maybe once or twice every other week, and I pour hamburger grease over it, right? I try to use everything. Everything goes back to the dogs. But my dogs are probably 90-95% raw feed. And they act years younger. Their coats look better. I mean, everything about the dog, it's just the dog is happier.
What breed is the raptor? Very important question.
Kangal, Kangal. Think Anatolian Shepherd, super soldier. They're Turkish mountain dogs, and they are bred to defend against bears and wolves. They use these dogs, especially on the West Coast where you have heavy bear and mountain lion predatory load. Also on the outskirts of Yellowstone where the wolf packs are back, they are using these dogs there. They're great dogs. They are very, I wanted something with more mouth behind it. Like you could come in here and my Pyrenees will bark, but you could get past them. This dog, you're going to have to kill the dog to get past this dog. This one of you two is going to be dead at the end of the situation. Yep.
Yeah, that dog, you don't want to mess with that dog.
We have multiple fences, and if you get to the dog, you've already crossed 2 different barriers.
And another great way to get content creators' attention if you have a really urgent question is to use super chats and ask your question with the super chat. So Michael asks, best way to get silver skin off of rabbits? I know how I get it off. I don't know if it's the best way. Get the meat really, 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 really cold and use a sharp knife. That's how I get silver skin off of venison. I haven't run into silver skin problems on rabbits though. So.
I don't even worry about it.
But he has rabbits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good news.
I'm guessing maybe the back legs would where you get some, and maybe the saddle a little bit. I mean,
so
if I was going to go ahead.
We're doing a meat processing class. It's going to be a 4-day class. It's going to be chicken, duck, rabbit. Everybody's going to have their own animal. You're going to dispatch it, skin it out, and turn it into meat with your own hands. Everybody's going to get to do this that wants to. On the next day, it's going to be pig. There's going to be 2 days of pig, and there's going to be 1 day of sheep. All the meat that is processed here is going to be cooked on site, and you guys are going to get to consume all of that. We're going to have full meals and everything. So if you want, and I'm not saying come out here to figure it out. I'm saying if you want hands-on and you're coming to Self-Reliance Festival, this is a great way to get here, meet everybody, and hang out in a smaller group of maybe 100 people versus the 1,000 that'll be here that weekend.
So I'll just say never had a silver skin issue with rabbits, including wild rabbits. So I'm not sure there. But when I do it with deer, I do what Nicole says to get the meat. I get any time I cut meat, I get it cold. But I just take a fillet knife, and I do it the exact same way I take skin off a fish. So you take the smaller end of the meat, whatever that is, you hold it down with a couple fingers, you lay the knife down, and you're more pulling the meat than moving the knife. And it's a little harder than doing it with a bass or something, but it's pretty much the same thing.
Yep.
And also somebody said, what about, you hear that a lot of times, what about worms?
Yes.
That's mostly some bullshit that people come up with that don't want to, that have an excuse not to do it themselves. Are you not feeding your dog? Are you not giving them worm medication anyways? And we're using, like, where are they getting worms from? Do you think that your dog isn't chewing on dead possums and other dog shit? Like, I always make a big effort for a few days before people get here, and we rake out the chickens, and we rake out the rabbits, and we put out fresh wood chips, and we drain we use huge cement mixing trays all over the place for water. But we have ducks, so inevitably they're gonna muck it up super fast. We go through and spend hours cleaning these things and scrubbing them and making them nice and shiny black with crystal clear water. And then you look, and the dog's licking the other dog's asshole, or the dog's drinking out of the dirty ass pond. Those are things we do for us. Your animals don't care. And my dogs eat dead things all the time. So that's where they're going to get a parasite load from wild animals. They're not getting parasite load from chickens and rabbits that we produce here on the property. It's just not happening. And
every time I see the tapeworm evidence coming out of my dog's butt, which is how you know, there's a pill for that. There's a pill for that. And it is, any advice? This is for you, Jack.
Real quick on the rabbits, because this is something we need to kill with this worm shit. Every person that's ever hunted rabbits has always heard only eat rabbits in months that end in R because the worms die when it gets cold. Do you know what the body temperature of a fucking rabbit is? 100, unless it's sick, 103.5 degrees. Do you know what the body temperature of a rabbit is on February 11th? 103.5 fucking degrees. It's an asinine thing that the worm living inside the warm body of the rabbit would die because it got cold outside. That's like you dying in your house with the fireplace running because it got cold outside. That's how. The only one I like better than that is, I don't want to have rabbits because you'll starve to death if you eat rabbits.
Yeah.
I'm back to.
What are you cooking the fucking rabbit in? Like what are you cooking the rabbit in?
You won't starve to death because you ate too much protein. You'll starve to death because you ate too little fat. Yeah. So get some fat to go with your protein, dumbass. Anyway, go ahead, Nicole.
Well, this one, just the pictures in my head of how this might go down were so entertaining. I had to bring this question up from James. Okay. Any advice for renesting a Muscovy who has decided to take over a chicken nest box?
Okay, I'll give you two answers. One, chicken nest boxes are fucking cheap. So go get another chicken nest box and put it up and let the chickens use that one if you're short on boxes. And let the Muscovy hatch her babies the place that she sat and wants to do it. That would be one answer. The other answer is, I'm assuming this is a brooding bird, right? So you're going to want to move a brooding bird. Do it at night, and hopefully she accepts it. So you need two people. We'll talk about handling Muscovies in a minute, Nicole. And then you need one person to control the bird, another person to move the eggs, and then do not set her on her eggs. Set her right in front of her eggs. Let her see her eggs. And she either is or is not going to accept that you've done this. And if she doesn't accept it almost immediately, she's either going to go back where she was, and then you can put the eggs back with her, or she's going to go off brood. And so to me, you can go buy a nesting box you could make one, but if you go buy one, they're like $15. And if you're just short on nesting boxes, I would leave her there. And don't worry that she's elevated with the little babies. Like, what are they going to do when they get out? She'll know what to do. Muscovies in the wild do things like this all the time. They know what to do. So that's my answer. But okay, the person handling the Muscovies, you need to wear long sleeves. And
no, I'm not.
If you're not experienced, gloves would not be overkill. And if you can ask Nicole why you need to wear long sleeves, and Nicole got a really nasty set of scratches.
Yeah,
you got to think about, and this is where they're going to hit you right here. What's
right
there?
Here.
There's veins right there. They are not a normal duck. I have seen people get very deep wounds from them, especially the drakes. You got to take them seriously. They can open you up, and I mean, like literally, slitting wrists is how people kill themselves. Now, if you don't want to die, you're probably not going to die. But I mean, that's literally the level of bleeding that you could cause.
Anybody handling livestock definitely should take an emergency medical course like Tactical Response does, or a Stop the Bleed class. because even if I didn't have a tourniquet in my pocket, I probably could slow it down enough with what I have on me.
Yeah.
If I had an arterial cut, but that bird could have totally opened my wrist straight up.
Yeah. And I did feel bad, John, because Nicole sent me this picture, and I was texting Nick Ferguson at the same time. And so I sent back to Nicole, I just put ha 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 ha, because I thought it was Nick, and I thought it was fine to mock his name. I wouldn't have done it to Nicole.
Don't ducks always nest on the ground? Like, aren't your chicken, all of our chicken nest boxes are up, and our ducks make nests on the ground. I've never seen a duck go into a nest box.
Muscovies will, if there's a good place elevated, they like it. Muscovies in nature are a roosting bird. They actually like to get up in trees, and that's part of why they have those claws that are so aggressive. And a lot of the places that they live in the wild are swamp, and there's not a lot of dry land. So they'll look for places they can nest, but they're mostly ground.
This year, for some reason, our ducks have hatched out like it's never happened before. This year, I've got about 40 extra ducks now that are just making messes everywhere. Like, I need them to not be here.
Which ducks are we processing in October?
Well, we could definitely do my ducks and my rabbits, but I think William and I think Billy said they've got all of that covered.
Yeah, I think we have that covered. Okay, Anarchy asks, does a business entity need to be legally established before making campsites, etc., in order to cover them as a business expense?
No. However, you will be doing business as a sole proprietorship, and there are certain legal risks that you may be absorbing that you would be better off with a business entity for. But you are in business because you're in business. And there is even I can't remember what it's called, but basically people that aren't LLCs or corporations that call themselves LLC or corporations are treated as such by the law, except when it's to their advantage. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Except when it's to their advantage. When it's to your disadvantages, they will treat you as though you have an entity because you've said you are, even though you didn't file one. But when it's to your advantage, they will remove the protection.
If it takes you a month to get appointments to talk to a tax attorney or CPA about all of this, about incorporating and how you should structure it, set that appointment and start getting your business ready anyway. Using I'm not incorporated yet as a reason not to start is a huge mistake in any business. I probably am more free with starting things anyway, but at the end of the day, you can always report as a sole proprietor. You can do write-offs related to that. That is what it is. There are some extra cool reasons to go into some other structures. And when you have a better idea of what you're doing for a business, it's easier to make the decision of how you should incorporate and when you should incorporate. But the amount of money you're making off Hip Camp in your first couple of months, even if you have an awesome place, it's going to be under a few $1,000s if you're lucky.
Yeah. I would say just go for it. In most things, the reason I would be really leery about not having insurances and corporate protection and all with a Hip Camp is you're bringing people onto your property. Yeah. You're assuming a lot of liability. That's totally different. Like if you're anybody that's out there, like you want to start up a little business or something and you're going to make some widget and ship it on Etsy or some shit, just fucking do it. If it works out, then you can structure it later.
If you're going to succeed at business, you're going to succeed at business. Like you're talking to a dude right now who's been in business for 35 years. And the first 15 years I was in business, I wasn't even a legal structure. Like you're talking to a dude that went and got a tax lawyer and said, hey, I owe the IRS millions of dollars. I did every fucking possible thing wrong. And nobody ever came and knocked on the door. I went to them. So if you want to do this, just do it. Start doing it. And like Jack said, the insurance thing. But you can look at this thing as build you a badass deck, build a badass tree house or a fort or whatever it is, right? You can put a nice glamping tent up. You can put a yurt up. You can put a hot tub. It can just be something that you and your wife use if you don't profit from it. But you will also find, depending on what area you're in, you can do a lot of this just word of mouth between friends. Yep. Nobody will ever know that it's going on. Everybody's so worried about asking permission, and they spend more time finding the reasons they can't do some shit when they could have just done it.
Absolutely. It's and you can get insurance if you're not incorporated. That's the other thing. You can get liability insurance as a sole proprietor.
Yep.
For Hip Camp, it comes with some insurance through the website, and they actively promote additional policies. So there's lots. I buy event insurance for Self-Reliance Festival just because it's better to have that extra thing there. Okay, if growing a large garden, do you recommend black plastic or mulch or wood chips?
Yes.
Yes.
And
I
it said
agree.
of
Yes
mulch.
is
I
the
guess
right
that's a typo. Black plastic is really to kill. So you can rob weeds of light. So basically you're tarping it. I don't care if it's black plastic. I don't care if it's a freaking tarp from Tractor Supply or whatever. You can throw that over a garden. And if you do it long enough, you kill off most of your weeds because you rob them of light. Mulching and wood chips are a totally different purpose. That's an ongoing organic process. I've played with weed blocker in gardens. I don't care for it because eventually it ends up like you've cut through so many places. I think market gardeners it works really well for because they're doing a very specific planting density and rows and they're mechanical harvesting and all. But for me, I just use mulch. Then the other way to get rid of weeds, and I think it works better, is called solarizing. And Nick Ferguson's promoted the hell out of that. So instead of putting black plastic, we put clear plastic. So now all the little weeds and shit want to germinate, and then they bake in a bazillion degrees. And we also end up then killing off a lot of the non-beneficial bacterium and things like that with UV. And then you go and plant into that. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. I think you have to decide what you're going to do. He said if you're growing a large garden, what's a large garden?
Yeah, what's your idea of a large garden? Living Traditions Homestead grows gardens that are several acres, and they use the black plastic. The black plastic's very cool. It's not. It's hot, actually. It's pretty warm. But it's a cool situation. Like, it's almost more important to me what my garden looks like than how much food I produce. Like, it's very important from the air what all my stuff looks like. The black plastic thing is great. If you don't want to fight weeds for a season, you're going to rip it back up. There's two ways to do that. You're going to use irrigation. You're going to use drip line irrigation, like from Grower's Solution. You can put it underneath. You can put it on top. I would tell you put it on top. That way you see a problem before you see the problem in the plant. It's all doable. It's how much money you want to put in and how much automation you want to have to it. Like, I still water everything here by hand. Like, Nicole was like, you're retarded. Like, I can't believe you're doing that. And I have all the stuff to do it. We've just literally never put it on.
Same. There's a lot of stuff I need to automate that
we need a GSD weekend at John Willis's installing automated watering and an outdoor shower.
Now, my experience with plastics in like large square conventional looking gardens is what's worked best is the plastics actually in the walking paths. And so we're preventing any weed growth in there. We heavily mulch that. And then all we have for weeding is the actual bed. I'm not a fan of putting plastic over what I'm growing.
When you put down wood mulch in your paths, just know it is going to grow. No matter what, it is going to grow. Some of the best weeds growing on the property are growing in wood mulch that I put out there to plant the trees in. I pulled a ton of it.
I use cedar wood mulch in my pathways with cardboard under it in my garden, and then that ends, and then there's a different kind of wood mulch for the beds, and fewer weeds are growing in the cedar, but they're still growing in the cedar. Fewer. And
I use whatever the giant truck drops off after I give the guys beer. That's what I use. The giant truck hasn't been through here. No, they don't come to you. They're afraid.
They used to. I don't know what's up.
If I was driving a giant truck, I would just not drive on your road.
Yeah, but they
your
have
road
to.
Scares me in my Toyota. Your road scares me.
So
I'm not.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm not driving a 16-yard freaking wood mulch truck with a giant freaking thing shredder behind it on your road. I'm just not doing it.
Well, it's funny because they do, but they haven't in several years.
Yeah,
like I'm not.
And the trees are growing over.
Like after the last guy fell into the ditch and died, they stopped doing it. That's
I call that a cliff. That's not even a road, Nicole.
No.
That's how you feed the pigs, Jack.
There's like I saw this video one time and I thought it was like Nepal or something where all the people climb on the truck and it was actually tactical bringing shit back to her house. I got like 5, Nicole. I got to roll.
Okay. Well, I think we're just about done. Let's go around the horn, talk about what's happening in our next month and or whatever. Jack, you go.
Well, I'm still doing what I've always been doing with the Survival Podcast. We just had our 14th year anniversary. You can find the site at tspc.co. And in an effort to do more with Bitcoin, I have actually created a show a week from now on going to be called the Bitcoin Breakout. And if you just want the Bitcoin stuff, it's available at thebitcoinbreakout.com.
Awesome. I'm with Living Free in Tennessee, which is a podcast, livingfreeintennessee.com. And we are focusing this month on practical application of prepping and homesteading skills. So we have started at least once a week. You'll be hearing an episode on things like how to actually develop the deep pantry step by step. Our first interview was with a single mom of 2, talking through what they really eat, what they buy when they go out to eat, and how to prep based on their meal preferences so that if they need to depend on their preps, they can. And what happened as a result of that is she's now able to figure out how to cook at home more, which is actually great for her budget. That's part of why you develop a deep pantry. That's all over at livingfreeintennessee.com. And I do want to encourage folks, Self-Reliance Festival tickets are on sale, as is the Swale workshop. The meat processing workshop goes on sale August 1st. That's all over at selfreliancefestival.com. John, what do you got?
What pays the bills is soetacticalgear.com. It's special operations equipment. We do all these shirts like this one this week says fuck around and find out.
I love that shirt.
We do 120 pieces every week. We never rerun the design. So if you're interested in one that you see Jack or Nicole wearing, that's where they come from, soetacticalgear.com. We make nylon tactical gear. We make lifestyle gear. And I'm on every social media platform. So just check it out. If you see something of value, all I ask is that you share it with somebody.
And I'll just real quick, y'all got to buy this one because I came up with the idea and got John to do it, and now it needs to sell. So everybody's heard the old come and take it. It's a pretty big thing here in Texas. I actually have a license plate on my car that says that, and the state actually sells that. It's great. It's a unique thing. But I was like, with all this shit about talking about taking guns away, I'm done with come and take it. Come and try it, motherfuckers. So y'all got to get one of these.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
And he also gave him like a friggin' Vulcan cannon. I figured it'd be like an AR, but like, let's just go all out, right? So
no, I mean, if you're going to have something badass.
Yeah. Our guy that makes the shirts was a special boats guy. So his job was driving SEALs around, and that's their primary gun system.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for joining in. We'll be back next week with another live stream. It will be with Bear Independent, in case you're wondering who it is.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
We will talk to you soon.